So to ensure the proper flow of the discussion and to close the gap, right? There's a big gap of us meeting in real life and this happening over Google Meet, right? Over the internet. So I need you to of any kind of slander or unparliamentary language is intolerable. And when I mean intolerable, you get what I mean, right? So it's really intolerable, and we would critically look upon that. So
his filmmaking journey. So he's loyal to them, and also he's comfortable with them, so he doesn't want to change. And most of these people are maybe white straight men. Now here comes the issue. So let's say he's shooting these scenes, and in these scenes, he has to forcefully kind of put people from the underrepresented communities, such as maybe Latin Americans, African Americans, or Hispanics. He has to force them into the narrative, force them into the story, which doesn't really match to the overall plot. Now, from being a brilliant movie, it goes to an average movie because when the audience is watching it, in his mind he realizes that, oh, this is there only because the Oscars have said that for a best picture you need to have certain representation. So he thinks. So the audience is completely disconnected, and from going to a brilliant movie, it becomes a average movie. So I'd say those standards still have these loopholes where even if you have to follow two standards, it still becomes very uncomfortable for a filmmaker to sort of film the film he wants to film.
Yeah,
Oh,
exactly. And that would.
I have a
okay. Uh, I just like to say two things to these.
Okay.
First, so if there is, I do understand certain movies do not have the budget, they're not produced by large filming companies. So, accordingly, there are numbers designated. So, if the film company is pretty small, the fraction of people to be employed in certain internships is smaller. Again, if this movie does end up getting an Oscar, they could be attributed into a bigger distribution film distributing company and then go on with their investment in these internship opportunities for underrepresented people. Second point that you brought about was about how these standards are inadequate. So maybe I'd like to also bring in that this is maybe the first step to bring in more changes like these, to increase more inclusivity for people like who are not usually seen on screens or don't work behind the camera.
okay. So
Um,
can I go? I think the
Yeah, yeah.
message
Go
is
on.
shared. Okay, all right. So, okay, I'll just like to continue. So, I'm also speaking against the topic regarding that. Basically, that I don't feel that it forces unnecessary elements. Now, first of all, I'll just like to say that the way these categories are structured, you have four categories. Each category, I'm just repeating it again for everyone. Out of four categories, you only need to satisfy two in each. You don't need, I mean, under each category, out of the subcategories, only two subcategories you need to satisfy. It is honestly, if you put it simply, it is much hue about nothing because of the fact that, let's take an example. Okay, one, the main category, on-screen representation. At least one lead or significant supporting actor has to be from an underrepresented racial group. So you can follow either one of these two, either the supporting actor or the lead. And the next thing you have to do, either you give secondary roles or you give a main storyline or theme. So doing something like this, honestly, like, see, I feel that rather than give unnecessary elements, it opens up avenues for people to tell new stories. Like, you get to see stories from the perspectives of people you wouldn't have seen before, because the fact is they're underrepresented. Okay, they don't have enough representation, and this is a welcome inclusion. It's not asking you to change the way you make movies, because the fact is that in maximum, in your, like, even as one of my like opponents had mentioned about, someone having to, add people to his like group, even though like he's been with the same group throughout. It's a matter of adding two or three people. They're not asking you to radically change the way you make movies in any way. It's just putting in like, it's just, turning to more people where, they're underrepresented. And I feel that this is a brilliant move, especially because people who are seeing these movies are seen all over the world. These movies aren't just seen by, straight white men. These movies are seen by anyone and everyone. So the point is that if you're going to make these movies available to everyone, then you have like some kind of, social impact. This will have a social impact. And let me take an example, like Chadwick Boseman. Why was Chadwick Boseman such a revered actor? Because now every black kid could watch him and think, okay, they had a fantasy. They're like, okay, I want to be like him. I want to be like the Black Panther. There's finally a superhero movie where someone looks like me, right? Or like Gal Gadot and Wonder Woman. How that was one of the first prominently women headline movie. Like, there was one of the first films which prominently
Yeah.
had a woman
Right.
lead, right?
Right,
Yeah.
Shreyas. I think you've cited your point. I mean,
Okay. Thanks.
immensely great
Within.
points. Thank you for that.
Thanks.
I think Vaishnavi would like to add something to that.
Yeah, thank you so much for that. I would just like to bring in a new
context, obviously, I totally agree with Shreyas and Avni. I would just like to bring a new context here in front of Pavaman and all of my colleagues who are being for the statement. And it is that when we talk about this particular word underrepresented, why do we say that it is underrepresented? Represented because maybe the people from those community have actually not got enough opportunities and enough access to be the mainstream. Why would an organization such big as an Oscar would bring these changes? Obviously, they have a jury, right? They have a jury of people who represent who are from different communities. So basically, and also they are considering the controversies and allegations against them, which is why this change has been brought, right? So any filmmaker or anyone who thinks that basically these changes could put a negative impact on his or her creativity is totally baseless, because you can fulfill at least 2 out of 4 standards. You could cast some mainstream actor, or if you don't want to do that, you could do either of those things. If you're financially able, you can do something, and if you're not, you could do some other thing, but you could actually do that. And I would just like to last my point, to keep my point with one last stance, is that cinema does not have a responsibility. Cinema has no moral responsibility other than to just portray a story, but an organization, a jury who has the responsibility to judge the world cinema and then give some award. That organization for sure has a responsibility to make sure that all those communities are being represented equally and they have an equal opportunity to be at the mainstream stance and at the mainstream podium. So this is what I feel.
Um,
Yeah.
I would like to add on
Right,
something.
Simran, you can go ahead. That would be followed by Rajiv, right? Yeah.
Yeah. Basically, I feel it's not an organization, it's actually an academy. My first point. And my second point is this whole thing is becoming a very ironical statement. Why? Because at some level, we are considering Oscars equals to Nobel Prize for cinematography, like for us, general people. When we talk about Oscar movies, we think they are the best movies in the world, which includes creativity, which includes different ideas which we have never come through. So I believe this particular rules and regulations are putting a lot of politics, a lot of barriers into it. Why? Because creating these rules are creating disparities among the people. And if you know about the recent news, US is currently facing a culture war. So I believe this is creating a lot of confusions among the people. Yes, I agree. It's giving equal opportunity to everybody. I mean, it's really necessary. But what if there is somebody who is actually struggling for a particular position? Because getting an award is not an easy thing, and Oscar, of course, is a very tough stuff. So I believe it is not creating just a cultural war, but also putting politics into enjoyment. Where watching a movie was supposed to be enjoyment has become watching a movie to put and forcefully accept some characters which might not be suitable for them, might not be. And I believe there is no particular change because of these rules. I went through the Google graph for women involvement in Hollywood, and I came through like 84% are in costumes, working in costumes, 83% are casting directors. So it's particularly not making any change. Oscar is Oscar is showing that it's doing a lot of change to the society, but I don't think so, because the already existing movies also consider, like if you see movies like Spartans or 300, they already consider such great cast. So I believe it is not putting that difference, rather it is forcing diversity, which
All right,
might
Simran.
yeah.
I think you've posed your point, and I completely understand it. Some great points from you, by the
Can
way.
I?
Take note, delegates. Rajiv, I think you be able to
Yeah.
add something onto that? Yeah.
Yeah, actually, Simran here spoke quite a lot, and I think I can explain my point with the help of an example about how now Simran happened to say that how politics is being mixed into entertainment. Now, I'm 100% sure all of you are familiar with the Terminator movies. Now, the first two movies that were released, they were classics. It was basically a storyline about a killer robot sent from the future into the past to kill the mother, whose son will eventually lead the war against machines. Now, the sequels that eventually followed, and especially the latest one that came in, the latest movie that came in, it had perceived themes of feminism in it. Then it even covered up the issue of the issues of immigration. And what happened was there was a point in the film which angered audiences the most, because eventually the main character from the previous films, he was killed off in favor of a female lead character. And this is something that was not quite enjoyed by this is something that the audiences didn't like. Now everyone is of course all in for equal representation and all, but that doesn't mean that you will bring about a drastic change in a storyline out there.
Oh, I would.
That
Can
is
I go ahead and add a
Um,
point? Or okay, you do you want to? Should I?
yeah, I'll just say a few
Yeah.
things that a
Keeping
that
in mind that Avni and Shreyas, you're from the same side. Any one of you can just
Okay,
go
sorry.
forward.
Yeah. Okay,
Yeah.
you go ahead. Go ahead.
yeah that it was a very isolated incident as to, and you cannot just point it out to why exactly that particular change in story was brought about. It's a very isolated incident to take an example. Second, I'd like to also counter a few points that were made by previous people about if this it would actually bring in change. That is actually to be seen in future. These changes will be brought in for movies that will be nominated for 2024 Oscars. In fact, the movies that will be made in 2021, 22, 23 will have to submit a confidential report to this academy stating these are the things that they're doing, and maybe then they can probably also bridge the gap that they have to in order to meet these criteria if they are aiming for an Oscar in the best film category. Keeping in mind all of these guidelines are only restricted to the best film category in Oscars. Third, Oscar has had a history of being racist. The From the audience members to the people who win the Oscars, all of them have been predominantly white, and none of us can deny this history. It's just there in your face. Third, the from the past 15 years, if you see the movies that have actually been nominated or won in best film category kind of already meet these criteria, almost meet these criteria, and the problems arise more predominantly as you go behind. 15 years ago, 25 years ago, they're going to be movies that were just plain out racist, because as a society we have become more accepting and tolerant now. So it just actually shows you that as the society progressed and became acceptable, the categories for movies, the movie production units, the crew members also became inclusive of minority groups. Thank you.
I'd just like to add to that, and I had a set
Definitely,
of
definitely.
rebuttals also for like what my previous like opponents in the opposing side has said. First of all, I'd just like to say that these rules are only for Best Picture. The other awards, the criteria remain the same. Okay, as of now. Secondly, I mean, I mean, just to put it out there, something like maybe you had mentioned Terminator. I'm sure we can say that Terminator probably wouldn't be considered in the running for something like a best film, also, right? That's one point I'd like to make. But it's just, I mean, okay, I'll anyway go ahead. I just wanted to say that the thing is, see,
Maybe not
why I made,
Terminator, but then other film like James Cameron,
yeah,
like Avatar was considered. Avatar was
but the
nominated for Best Picture. Then some time ago, another science fiction film like The Shape of Water was nominated for Best Picture.
but but if you look at it, the point is those movies didn't have to radically change their story to put underrepresented. They won't have to radically change their story. Okay, the Terminator had that problem as you had correctly mentioned, but had that problem as in it was not well received. But the point is, these movies which are actually being considered, generally you won't usually have to change your storyline. And okay, and that's one point I wanted to make, but I'll get to the next. So the thing is that regarding as I think one of my other opponents had said that Oscars are viewed like somewhat like a Nobel Prize, like the ultimate recognition for a movie. So the thing is that if they are viewed as the ultimate recognition all over the world, not just in US, not just for white men, then how can you expect, like, if you're going to snub movies made by black people, Asians and all, then how can you, like, expect the Oscars to have the same standard? How can you expect the Oscars to command the standard of the whole world if you're not going to represent them equally? Each person deserves to see themselves at least nominate. I mean, when I mean themselves nominated, I mean, for instance, like, a black person should be able to say, okay, you know what? Someone who looks like me made a really great movie. Okay, they should be able to say that. Anyone like that. It's not, and it's nothing to do with politics. I just feel it opens areas for making new stories. It's not like the same people are going to have to radically, suddenly the story will have to change. It's not like, it's suddenly you have to make a all white and all black cast because the Oscars said so. It is just one or two, three criteria you have to add in so that your movie becomes more, it has more reach socially, because as we all know, the Oscars is the highest gold standard for movies in the whole world. Nobody really knows any, I mean, other movie awards are there, but what do we all watch the Oscars. So if we all are going to watch the Oscars, something like introducing representation, or even two other things I wanted to address: paid apprenticeship or internship for underrepresented groups. That also is a great criteria. It's a matter of including more people, or probably one or two different people. They're not asking you to, make your entire internship group all women who don't know how to make movies. Nothing like that. It's the point is just, include the. We don't have a problem with as long as it's a good person from these underrepresented groups. The point is just show that okay, these opportunities are accessible to everyone. Then people will know that okay, they're accessible to everyone. The standard stays the same, because whether you like it or not, if the Oscars are viewed by the whole world, they have a responsibility to show that.
That again,
Right.
that again would bring
Shreyas,
to
I think
I just have.
you stated
I
your
have
point, right?
yeah.
I think Rajiv.
that again would bring to another point. Now let's just say you want to make a film based on one of the world wars. Now, when you're making a film on the world war, now what happens is a majority of the time movies that we have seen before, a majority of the cast members happen to be white. Now you don't expect a random Asian or person from a Mexican to walk in a World War movie, right? Unless that film is taking place there.
See, but they're not expecting you to make your main character Mexican or something, right? They're just saying in the entire cast, get someone in who's underrepresented. And also, no movie is going to be like, what? No director is going to say, okay, I want to make the best film. So before I make the story, I'm going to plan the actors first. Then after that, no one's going to do that, right? They are going to make the film according to how they want. But the point is that they're not going to, they can make the film the same way. The point is they just have to include other people here, maybe some side soldiers, someone who has like, and it's not just on screen, it's like people working behind the scenes, publicity behind the scenes, and publicity, so that definitely shouldn't be an issue at all. Okay, only on screen maybe the issue comes up that, oh, how can this guy, how can a white guy play a Asian role or something like that. Those kind of controversies come up. So that's the only thing that is getting addressed here. If you're trying to follow the
Right.
inclusion norms, it's not going
Right,
to
Shreyas.
radically change.
I think you've made yourself very clear. Adding to your conversation, I mean, I think we've been going on and around a circle right now, so I couldn't help myself to butt in. So I need you to even discuss about something that has happened in the industry in the previous years as well. For example, Marlon Brando was boycotted, right, for having an American Indian accept his award, or Marisa Tomei, who was boycotted for her being Asian, right? I think these issues also play a huge role in how uh, the Oscar grants have changed throughout uh, the past 20 to 25 years. So yeah, go on.
Oh
Um,
yeah, as you mentioned, so that was the point I was trying to add. Now the whole issue is not the fact that Oscars are trying to be more inclusive or they're trying to represent more communities. It's the fact that Oscars trying to be something that they're not. Now, if you see, they have a history of always being racist themselves, and now when you put out a lot of standards saying you have to include this and you have to include that. Now the problem is not that. It's absolutely fair for a person who is gay or a person who's a lesbian to want to see themselves on screen to feel represented. Now the problem comes because these kind of films have always been made. Like it's not like these kind of films haven't been made at all. I mean, if you go back to the 2000s as well, there have been movies about black people, there have been movies about gay people, there have been movies about lesbians as well. It's the fact that the Oscars are trying to create something as if to say we are woke and we are changed now and we are accepting these kind of movies as if it wasn't already there before. And now to come to discrimination, When the whole idea is to represent more people and to discard discrimination, when you start saying when you start rejecting maybe a white straight man, maybe a producer goes and tells a white man that, I've spent this much on the C clause in production, and I've spent this much for internships, and I can't afford to take you because I won't be able to meet standard A, then that just becomes discrimination again. So that's the point I want to make.
Okay. There are a few things I'd like to say. You mentioned the Oscars trying to be something they're not. So you're admitting that Oscars are racist. So if they are racist, then you mean to say these rules are just redundant, which indirectly implies that these rules may be critiqued and even modified to make them even better to become more inclusive. Second thing, you're talking about trying to meet this particular criteria or trying to meet this particular standard. I like to mention that since 15 years, most of the movies being nominated kind of already meet these criteria. So you do not, even a movie like Irishman, which was predominantly white cast, met this criteria very well. Little Women, which had predominantly white women in the cast, also met this criteria. So I think we're over exaggerating the kind of restrictions that these standards are bringing in and overlooking the positive sides that these standards bring in. Thank you.
Adding on that, as my dear friend said, we are over exaggerating. Believe me, when you are putting a best movie on the biggest worldwide screen where everybody is watching it, it takes a lot of effort, a lot of talent, a lot of quality into it. See, basically, it's not about which category is getting discriminated or which category is not being seen as like predominant or something like that. But I believe watching movie and stating it racist is not a correct way of enjoying stuff. For me, watching movie sincerely has been entertainment. Like when we go to watch movie, we go to relax at a certain place, listen out to a story of somebody else from our very busy lives. Now imagine watching movie makes it so political that these characters and like maybe they kind of have a war or something to put on the characters and people will be fighting like they are racist, all those shit. But I'm sorry for the foul language, but I feel this is not the correct way. And basically, what I want to put a point into it about recognizing the social issues or putting the LGBTQ or the women in all these categories. I believe there are many countries, like includes a lot of stories, but I believe giving it a priority into such social groups of women, LGBTQ, kind of can bias, also can avoid a lot of creativity and quality standards.
I
That's
would
what
like
I just want to say.
Rightly said, Simran. Uh, with that being said, I think we have had enough discussion on this current agenda at hand. I think my dear colleague Advait would take up the dais for some time and mention you something very important right now, which would actually turn out how this event goes forward, right?
Yes.
Advait, the dice is all yours.
Thank you, Soya.
Just one moment, please.
Yeah.
Before you continue, actually, I have to turn off my camera for some time if you don't mind.
Yeah, we understand your problem. Yeah,
It's fine.
Go on.
So before I give out the surprise, Vivek, would you like to address the participants?
Yeah, so with this, I think we will be concluding with the GD. Another thing, we have another round, another group discussion, which is not exactly for and against. So basically, we'll be giving out a topic and you have to speak your side or like. So basically, we have a topic that is who is more important in a film, an actor or a director, or who do you think is more important in a film? So there is no for and against. You state your points, and that itself will be the whole point of this GD. So I think that's it for GD2, and then we'll be concluding with the session.
So you'll not be getting any time for preparation, and you can choose any side. It's totally up to you. So if
Yeah,
anybody
it
wants
doesn't
to,
have to be in equal numbers. That 3 are actors and 3 are directors. Just state your
yes,
points,
and you can have
and anyone can start.
healthy discussion. Anyone can
Can I
start.
would like to
Yeah,
so
go
can I
ahead.
go ahead?
Yes.
Yeah, before you just go on ahead, I'd like to state something very important. Uh, as I said in the rules of procedure, there is a correct way of speaking, right? So you need to follow that. I tolerated some instances where I wouldn't mention the instances itself, but I tolerated some of the instances, giving it that it's the first sh- group discussion because we had a second group discussion in mind. So I'd like you guys to follow the rules of procedure as a silver lining. And when I actually said it is intolerable, it is. Trust me, and I will critically mark you upon that. There are people watching, and you need to focus on the verbatim itself. So, keeping that in mind, please go ahead. Right.
Okay, I just wanted to start off from a like just introductory point of view, just to give an introduction, opening kind of statement. So, what's the topic? Who's more important, the director and actor? So, if you just look at it from the most basic, simplest point of view, you have one actor responsible for his one role, or her one actress, her one role. I'm just opening that like meaning in that way as well. And you have the director whose responsibility is to make the movie come alive, if to make the entire film come alive. So I'll go with the side that the director is more important, because I feel that the director, like, in the director's head, the movie is probably already playing out. The movie plays out in his head. He sees everything happen. He understands the position where the actor is, where the actress is. It okay, because the thing is, actors are replaceable. But the point is, directors will have a particular vision for the film. The film is made on what kind of story they like come up with, or the kind of, the way the director wants the movie to proceed. So that's why I feel that, given the like extra this amount of responsibility, I feel that a director would be more important. That's my opening statement. Thank you.
Well, I'd
Um,
like to say that Shreyas could. Sorry, was anyone speaking?
no,
Vaishnavi,
you
go
go
ahead,
first.
followed by Simran.
Go ahead.
Okay, okay. So I would just like to say that I love filmmakers, and I am an absolute cinephilic. And but maybe it could be my personal bias as well. But I think that a director, no doubt, has the whole vision of the movie, and he or she already has the whole movie playing in his or her head. But you could be the puppet player, but what would you do exactly going on the stage if you do not have those right players in your hand? If you do not have the right role, if you do not have the right person to play that particular character, okay, as a director, I could direct you, I could synchronize the whole set, I could do everything, but my main joker card, they are the actors. We have to give that due to them, that actors are the soul of a movie, and they are very very important for a movie. And coming to the comparison, I would seriously not want to compare, but still, if I have to choose one, I would definitely choose the actors, because they are the master players of a movie on the stage.
Okay.
Can
I'd
I
like
go over here?
I'd like to add in after
Okay.
Vaishnavi's. Sure. Um, so what I believe is the directors bring the script to life. So you read a script, you read the scenes, and in your mind you probably imagine it to be certain way, and then you see the movie, and if you analyze it properly, you see the number of cuts, the direction the camera pans out in, the way a person with the expressions that are shown on the face of the person are projected to be a certain way. All of that is done by a director. So there is this movie called Psycho, which is a very old movie, and that movie, back in the day, the censor board was very stringent about not showing murders or knife going into meat or so and so. So there is a scene of a murder in there where the woman is in shower, and then there's a murderer who's coming from the other side, but they cannot show the woman being killed. So how do you show it's scary and dangerous without actually showing blood in it, because it's not allowed? So that is the brilliance of a director, to show and make it scary even when you cannot actually visually complement it. So that is why I believe a director is the mastermind of all the movies. Thank you.
Agreeing to that fact, I would like to add on saying directors are like our parents. Like for the actors, they're like parents. Those who have all the parental control, those who teach them, those who make them from a clay to a statue. It's not a big thing to like think of yourself that you are a director and other person is an actor. You are his teacher and he's your kid. See, teaching kids to count is fine, but teaching them to count is best is a very difficult thing, which is being done by the directors. Like directors have such big hands of making them what they are today or showing them what they are capable of. So I believe directors are very much important and they must be regarded as like the most important, because without them neither the actor exists, neither the staff exists, neither the film exists.
Well, I could just want to say one thing that you go to a ice cream parlor, and okay, you go to an ice cream parlor. You have an ice cream, and you just see the face of that chef who has made that. But if you walk out of that ice cream parlor, you will remember the face of that chef because of the taste of that ice cream, right? So actors are the taste of that ice cream, and the director is that chef. But would you have remembered that chef if the ice cream wouldn't have been that good? Okay. In that case, the ice cream is totally done by the chef. But in this case, however, how much ever the director directs a person, but the role, the research, the preparation behind the scene for the role, the amount of things you have to prepare for that particular role, you have to do that yourself. The director is just a teacher, is just an instructor, which is a very important role, no doubt. But the main thing, you have to do that yourself. The reason why would you remember some movie, why would Avani remember Psycho, would also because of some character, some particular close up shot, some shot which blew her mind. It would be because of some actor. Definitely the prep goes behind. The director would have helped, but you have to give credit to the person who has done himself or herself. Come on, you can't take that credit of the actors.
Yeah,
So,
just
yeah.
to
No,
just to
Okay,
add
I'd just
on.
like to add.
Um,
Sorry.
If Pavan,
Before
Pavan, you
that,
can go
Pavan,
ahead.
I
Okay.
think
Yes.
Rajiv had something in mind.
Yeah.
yeah, sorry.
Yeah, I actually had the same thing to say actually. That without the director is the person who works on the film and directs the film in that way. Eventually, the actors are the one who are assisting the director in bringing that film forward. So
Okay.
what I wanted to say, Vaishnavi actually said it out. Yes, I'm actually out
All
of
right,
words
great.
right now.
Cool.
Yeah. Just to kind of amplify that point, I'd like to give an example. So, I don't know how many of you all have seen Anbe Shivam. It's a movie starring Kamal Haasan and Madhavan, both prolific actors. Now, if you see the director of that movie, not to like badmouth anyone, they're obviously better than me, but I'm saying if you see his other films, most of them have been very average, and to be honest, flop movies. And if you see Anbe Shivam, it's a very simple story that has been highlighted by Kamal Haasan and Madhavan's performances and went on to become a cult classic later on. So I feel like the actors have have a huge role to play in how a movie comes out eventually. The script sometimes can be ordinary, but it's the actors who elevate that script. That's what I believe.
Okay, I
yeah,
just
I
have a
re-
point to add. Just an example. Sorry, I'll just go ahead with this. Okay, so like I'll just regarding my point about directors being important. I just like to come with some examples of my own as well to support this. So let's look at the superhero industry. Okay, regarding how important actors are. There have been probably three actors as Spider-Man. There have been four or five plus Batman. I don't remember, but probably around four to five people playing Batman. There have been three Hulks. Okay. But the one time they tried to change a director midway, but keep the same actors. What was that movie? Justice League. And how did that turn out? We all saw how it turned out. It was terrible. It started with Zack Snyder and they brought on Joss Whedon. And we know Joss Whedon is a great director. He's directed The Avengers. So no one thinks he will do a bad movie, right? But the point is, he tried to finish a movie that was Zack Snyder's vision. It was not his own movie from the beginning. So if you're trying, so when everyone saw the movie, everyone was like, okay, you know what? This is two different people. It's like two different tones. Sometimes it's trying to be funny. Okay, sometimes it's trying to be really serious. The movie doesn't know what it is. You still have Ben Affleck Gal Gadot, like really great actors who are helming the script. Okay, so you can't. I mean, like, you know, actors are really good. Actors will bring out the script to the best they can. People will watch it. But the point is, the movie can't take shape if there isn't a clear mind, you know, a clear, like a proper director who's helming the, you know, script, who's actually saying, okay, you know what, this is how I want the movie to go, this is how the tone is going to be. You know, I'm not going to simply, you know, make it funny in between, make it serious, not be sure what my movie is supposed to be, have Batman making jokes that aren't funny, all kinds of things. You know, I won't have that. I mean, that's not how it will be, right? That's why I just, you know, this is what the point I wanted to bring across, why directors are more important.
Yeah, like my friend Shreyas said, I totally agree. Which, like, whatever he said, it's so precise. According to Vaishnavi, yeah, we do remember the ice cream, but we also remember the particular company from we bought it. When you eat Vadilal ice cream, you remember Vadilal, right? So it's the same. Who is behind such a production team and everything? The director who created all this. So I believe director is always at the first. Like Shreyas said, Marvel is just good just up till the mark. Why people see Marvel is because of its director, also because of its artist. But imagine, I saw this end like the end forgot Infinity Wars for sake. The one who acted, like, took the voice in Hindi for Captain America was Varun Dhawan. I felt it so shitty. Rather, it was best with the actual Captain Rogers. So this is how it creates
Okay,
difference.
Simran. I'm very sorry to interrupt your point, but as everyone noticed, you used another unparliamentary word that shouldn't have been used, and we
I'm
we
sorry. I'm
on the
sorry.
other hand are trying our best for to make it friendly for each and every viewer out there. So I'll be buffering you for the next 2 minutes, so you are disbarred from speaking. If someone can go on and summarize a point and then just move on with your point, just go on.
I would like to add a point here. Uh, Shrey said something that the that was a particular sequel series. I mean, sorry, I don't remember what series you said about, but that is definitely a sequel series. And when the director was changed, the outcome was not expected. I mean, it was bad. It was not good. But I would like to state something particular here, which is that when you're talking about a single movie versus when you're talking about a series, a series is a set of stories which a particular director or a writer envisions, right? And whenever you bring a bar into that, you bring a kind of break into that. I mean, if you're changing the director, there is definitely a break. But that does not undermines the abilities of those actors who got casted in the movie, right? The problem was because the writer or the director who had envisioned all of that was not right, but the actor who would have played it, who got his cue as he was said, he would have done to his or her best possible abilities. You can't question their ability, right? and and if the same director would have come, and I think if I have to summarize what I want to say in one particular point and in one particular statement, it would be that okay, you change Spider-Man, okay, you change another characters, but can you imagine Iron Man without Tony Stark? Simple. If you can, okay, I don't have anything further to say, but if you can't, you get what I want to
Okay.
say.
That is
There was
I'd
one
like
more
to add
example that I
in.
wanted to quote out here, if you guys don't
Yeah,
mind.
Rajiv, you go first.
Yeah, all right.
Yeah, if you guys know, recently we got the new Suicide Squad movie, right? And the previous one that was released about 5 years ago. Now both these movies happen to have different directors and different visions. Now what happened was the first movie, I believe, it had a lot of interference from the studio, and the director didn't have much of a say in it, and the movie ended up becoming bad because the studio hoped that the movie would rely on the star power of Will Smith and Margaret Robbie. But that didn't quite work out, and the movie eventually didn't turn out that good, yet many people enjoyed it surprisingly, but it wasn't as good as many hoped. Eventually the new one came, and the director was given full creative control. So his storyline, the film's visuals, and the cast performances, everything worked well together, and the movie became a huge hit. So in a way, the director here is very important, but at the same time, I would also say that yeah, even the actors play a role in it as well, but only if these two work together well. So in a way, I have come to a very much a stalemate here. I cannot take either side for some reason.
I'd like to add in sorry, I just do not follow the ice cream analogy. Just didn't stick with me. But I'd like to talk about Christopher Nolan and his movies. Just why we know his movies is because of the name Christopher Nolan. Any Inception, Interstellar, Tenet, for that matter. So in this case, I'd like to talk about Interstellar. Now, even though Anne Hathaway, all of the actors, they did an amazing job, no doubt. But the beauty of the movie was because he directed it. The way Hans Zimmer's music was used in every scene, from the docking scene to the way he gets into the black hole, all of it was so beautifully projected. And you have to give the director credit for bringing such a beautiful story into life. Now, if I were to dumb it down and just say the script out loud like this, I think more than half of the people here would not even understand. And it would be just so boring. What are you even talking about? Love surpassing gravity? What does that even mean? But the way that was included and how the story panned out was all Christopher Nolan's genius. And that's how I'd like to end this.
Can I say? Okay. Uh, so I believe this is not about um, who is bigger, who is smaller. It's about how cooperative, how organized they stay together, right? It is about the level of dependency. Actors are dependent on directors, you agree or not. And as you said, Vaishnavi, Iron Man without the main character Tony Stark might happen because of the director, because there is currently a series which was launched by Marvel itself, where Captain Rogers was replaced by Falcon, and he's the new Captain America right now. So if the director wishes to ultimately show it in that way, it can be shown. So it's not about who is great or who is not. It's about how we both work together and how dependent we are with our parents, teachers, or the director to our actor. That's it.
I could just put some words to both. I mean, I would like to just say some things to just Avni and Simran both. Avni just said this one line which just hit me, which was that you have to give credit to that director for showing that scene. Totally agreed, agreed. But to that, I would just say that you have to give credit to that actor, to that face who took that story, who took that cue and put forward on that screen for you to watch. How would you know that Nolan put across some such good scene, has such good storyline, such good cinematic shots, if you do not feel convinced by that expression which the actor has? I mean, okay, as a director, if imagine this particular grid of Vaishnavi playing in front of you right now. This is directed by Nolan, right? He has set the scene. I have this window, I have this chair, I have this bed. He has particularly done this lights, but I am the actor, right? If I am not able to convince you, if my expressions don't convince you, why would you listen to me? However good the set is, however good the scene is, right? So you have to give credit to the actors to take that cue, to take that story from that particular sheet, from that particular screenplay to the scene in such a beautiful manner. So this is what I want to say.
Can I just add a
This
concluding statement?
Yeah, that will be a last.
Before you go on, I think Advait has to say something.
Yes,
Go on,
I
Advait.
was just going to say we are like finishing with our time. So Shreyas, you will be the conclusion of the GD. So
Just
go
make
on.
sure
Since she
your
was
points across.
addressing me in the speech,
Yeah,
could I just
Avni, you get your rebuttal. Let me speak before that, right? So
okay.
after Avni gives a rebuttal, Shreyas, you need to conclude the session by summarizing the first GD and the second GD, both of them separately. So just you'll have to just run us through what we talked about on the first GD and how it is important, and what we talked about in the second GD and how it was important. I
So
think that
you
suits
want
you.
me to run through like both sides? Like, I mean, both viewpoints. Well, I
No,
mean,
I
of
mean
when I
what
summarize.
was the topic of discussion in general?
A general of in 30 seconds each. Just give
Yeah,
a
yeah.
dis-
Okay, all right.
Go on, Avni.
overview.
You have the dice.
Yes. The scene in Psycho that I was talking about, the face of the actor also wasn't visible. So I could just say the director made the scene happen. Second, there are movies without actors in them. And I'm talking about painting based movies or cartoon movies where the director, the animator does. I mean, if I were to imagine the animator to be director in this case, he designs the way the movie works. So essentially, even though you would give actor a credit for the expression they make, at some point they're replaceable. But the mind and the work ethic or the imagination of the director cannot be replaced. Yeah.
Shreyas, you can go on. You have the dice
Uh,
for the
I
next
just have
one
a
minute.
quick question. Just I have a quick question to
Okay,
clarify
go on.
before the 1 minute starts.
Yeah.
Just one quick question is in my concluding statement, am I like I'm not like is it a like apart from summarizing, I mean I'm not expected to bring in new viewpoints or
No, no,
like
no,
bring in my
No,
point of view,
no,
right? Just a
no.
summary.
Just a
no.
general
Just the
overview.
summary. Yeah.
That's it.
Just a general. Okay, so all right. So I'll talk about the first GD. So the first GD was dealing with the new rules regarding representation and inclusion standards for the best picture at Oscars. Because the topic was that these rules forces inclusions of elements unnecessary to the story. So from that area, we got to see throughout the G, we got to see both like interesting. Both sides gave interesting viewpoints. The side which was saying that this is unnecessary was painting us pictures about how the politics of it could get affected, like how the politics of it plays a role, or how maybe the money would play a role, like the budgeting, like whether they'd be able to afford to make such changes, or how maybe where many deserving candidates would lose out because of the new rules. So that was the picture that side was trying to paint for us, and the side going against, which felt that there is no issue with including all this. That side was painting us some more of a picture about how these rules actually are making it's people are making a mountain out of a molehill, basically. Like, the thing is, it's not, they try to put across the points that it's not really such a big deal, because of the fact that these are easy rules to like include, and they were trying to say that these rules give like um enough opportunity, and they were trying to include points about how deserving candidates from other colors end up getting snubbed. They're giving points about how when enough people see it across the world, different kinds of people are watching. You need to promote more inclusivity when there's a like Oscar is held at such a high standard. So yeah, that's about the first GD. I conclude. So shall I move on to the second one?
Yes.
Yep.
Okay, so the second one was, which is more important, the actor or the director. This probably started off a bit like a debate, but probably was more like a perspective discussion, trying to understand what happens. So we got to see different viewpoints conveyed, right? Like for the like for the actor side, the people who are on the side of actors, they conveyed the points about how it's important, about how important the actor's caliber is. Like you need really good actors to carry the films, to carry the roles the best. You remember movies for the actors and so on. These were the kind of points they were trying to convey. And the people pro directors were conveying points like the entire film comes from the director, and that's their vision that they're realizing, that this end to end, this is going to happen, this is how the director wants it, that's how the film comes alive. So those are the points they're trying to communicate. But probably the conclusion from there you could come at is that directors, I mean, either could be very important, but the point is the film can't survive if there's no clear system, if both have to coexist together. Because the fact is that you can't have a situation where the director and the main persons, their relationship is strained. I mean, things like, just an example, but the point is that they have to coexist. You need a good act, you need a really good actor, you need to give the actor the due importance, and you need to give the director the due importance as well. Because only when they all get their importance, then they can come together to make a really good movie. So that's what I'd like. That's what I. Yeah.
Great,
Thank you.
great. I think Vivek here would like to take up the dice. Yeah.
So before we end this session, I have some really important news to which I want to bring to you. The people who won throughout this GD1, GD2, the results the results will be announced on September 12th at 4 p.m. on YouTube Live of the BTS YouTube channel. So please make sure to tune in and see if you won or not. So yeah, please be there and check the live and be live on the live. So yeah, that's all. And I think it has been great. The second day has been great. You all came up with good points. So it is nice hosting it. Thank you.
Yeah, with this, we conclude the event. So we would like to thank all of you for participating in the final round, and do keep checking the YouTube channel for the results on 12th. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, guys. I'll be putting on my email just for the sorts of it, so that you can contact me regarding anything you want to. Right, regarding the correct verbatim that I have graded you upon, and you, if you have any doubts regarding that. Other than that, it's if it's anything outwardly, you can just reach out to us. But you have our numbers, you have everything to contact us. Any issue, anything, you can just reach out to us and let us know if how we could have done things differently to have made this conference much more friendly towards you. Thank you so much.
Also, before you leave, tomorrow we will be having the film trivia. The finals will again be broadcasted on our YouTube live. So do check that out. That is in collaboration with BTS and LDQ of Manipal.
With that being